Development, modification and breeding of animals living in the wild in such a way that they can live in bilateral relations with humans is called domestication. Domestication is a process that takes many years, and today's domestic animals are quite different from their relatives in the wild. As a result, almost all domesticated animals are born without the qualities to survive in the wild. Now, we will show you all the animals that have ever been domesticated and the reasons for their domestication. The domestic dog is a domesticated descendant of the wolf. The dog is derived from an ancient, extinct wolf, and the modern wolf is the dog's closest living relative. It was the first species to be domesticated 13,000 BCE in China and Europe. The dog, which was previously domesticated for only protection, is now bred for different purposes too. The goat is a domesticated breed of goat antelope that is typically kept as livestock. It is one of the oldest types of pets. Goats were domesticated from the mountain goat in Iran was in 10,000 BCE and they are closely related to sheep. Goats are used for milk, meat, fiber, skin etc. Domestic pigs of our time were domesticated from wild boars in the Near East in the Tigris Basin. Archaeological evidence indicates that pigs were domesticated 9000 BCE, with around 1 billion individuals. They are one of the most numerous large mammals on the planet. They were domesticated for the meat, skin, teeth, manure etc. Sheep are typically kept as livestock. Numbering a little over 1 billion, domestic sheep are also the most numerous species of sheep. Sheep are most likely descended from the wild mouflon of Europe and Asia in 8500 BCE. They are a key animal in the history of farming. They are one of the earliest animals to be domesticated for agricultural purposes. Cattle were domesticated from few aurochs progenitors around 8500 BCE in central Anatolia, the Levant and western Iran. There are approximately 1.5 billion cattle in the world as of 2018. Cattle are commonly raised as livestock for meat, for milk, and for hides, which are used to make leather. They are used as riding animals and draft animals. The best-known evidence of domestication of the African wildcat has been found near a Neolithic human burial in southern Cyprus dating to 7500 BCE. The inhabitants of this Neolithic village most likely brought the cat to the island from the Middle East mainland. Therefore, scientists hypothesize that cats were attracted to early human settlements by rodents, particularly the house mouse, and were domesticated by Neolithic farmers. The chicken is a domesticated subspecies of the red junglefowl. They are domesticated in southeastern Asia around 6000 BCE. Originally raised for cockfighting or for special ceremonies, chickens were not kept for food until the 4th centuries BCE. Chickens are one of the most common and widespread domestic animals, with a total population of 23.7 billion. The guinea pig was first domesticated 5000 BCE for food by tribes in the Andean region of South America. They were originally domesticated as livestock for a source of meat, and are still consumed in some parts of the world. They has enjoyed widespread popularity as a pet since its introduction to Europe and North America by European traders in the 16th century. The domestic donkey is a hoofed mammal in the same family as the horse. It derives from the African wild ass and may be classified either as a subspecies. It was domesticated in Africa, probably about 5000 BCE. There are more than 40 million donkeys in the world, mostly in underdeveloped countries, where they are used principally as draft or pack animals. The domestic duck is a variety of mallard that has been domesticated by humans and raised for meat, eggs, and down feathers. Almost all varieties of domesticated ducks are descended from the mallard. Due to the scarcity of archaeological records, its domestication date is unknown, but it is estimated that it was domesticated around 4000 BC. The domestic water buffalo is a large cattle from the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia. The wild hippopotamus most likely represents the ancestor of the domestic buffalo. The buffalo probably originated in western India and was domesticated around 4000 BC. There are at least 130 million buffalo and they are bred for various purposes. The dromedary camel is a large, even-toed hoofed camel with a hump on its back. It was probably first domesticated in the Arabian Peninsula about 4000 BCE. Products of the dromedary, including its meat and milk, support several North African tribes. It is also commonly used for riding and as a beast of burden. Western honeybees are the domesticated version of their wild cousins. Evidence found indicates that the honeybee was domesticated around 4000 BCE. Bees were likely first domesticated in ancient Egypt. The western honeybee is one of the few invertebrate animals to have been domesticated. The horse is a domesticated, odd-toed, hoofed mammal. The earliest archaeological evidence for the domestication of the horse comes from in Ukraine and Kazakhstan, dating to approximately 4000 BCE. Many products are derived from horses, including meat, milk, hide, hair, bone, and they use for many purposes. Estimates that there were almost 59 million horses in the world. The domestic silk moth is an insect from the moth family. The silkworm is the larva or caterpillar of a silk moth. It is an economically important insect, being a primary producer of silk. Sericulture, the practice of breeding silkworms for the production of raw silk, has been underway for at least 5,000 years in China. The domestic pigeon is a pigeon subspecies that was derived from the rock dove. The rock pigeon is the world's oldest domesticated bird. The earliest record mention of pigeons comes from Mesopotamia some 5,000 years ago. Pigeons have served key roles as food, pets, holy animals, post carriers, and more for thousands of years. Domestic geese have been derived through selective breeding from the wild greylag goose and swan goose. It has been proposed that geese were domesticated around 3000 BCE in China. Geese were also herded by ancient Mesopotamians for food and sacrifices. A domestic goose is a goose that humans have domesticated and kept for their meat, eggs, or down feathers. The domestic yak is a breed of domesticated long-haired cattle found in the Indian subcontinent from the Himalayan region as far north as Siberia. It was domesticated around 2500 BC from wild yak. It has a wide range of uses. Small numbers of herds can be found in the United States and Canada, as well as New Zealand and some parts of Europe. The llama is a domesticated South American camelid, widely used as a meat and pack animal by Andean cultures. They were domesticated in Peru and Bolivia around 2400 BCE. In the Inca Empire, llamas were the only beasts of burden. In South America, llamas are still used as beasts of burden, as well as for the production of fiber and meat. The alpaca is a species of South American camelid mammal. It was domesticated in Peru and Bolivia around 2400 BC. It is similar to, and often confused with, the llama. Unlike llamas, they cannot be used as draft animals, were bred specifically for their fiber. Alpacas live in the Andes of southern Peru, western Bolivia, Ecuador, and northern Chile. The ferret is most likely a domesticated form of the wild European ferret or polecat. Biological evidence suggests that ferrets were domesticated around 2,500 years ago. Ferrets were probably used by the Romans for hunting. The muscovy is the domesticated form of the wild muscovy duck. It was domesticated around 700 BCE. The muscovy duck has been domesticated for centuries, and is widely traded as Barbary duck. Domesticated muscovy ducks often have plumage different from wild birds. White and light-colored breeds are preferred for meat production. The Barbary dove, ringed turtle dove or ring dove is a domestic member of the dove family. It is estimated that it was domesticated around 500 BCE in North Africa. Some of these doves carry a mutation that makes them completely white. White Barbary doves are also traditionally released in large public ceremonies, since it is a peace symbol in several cultures. The domestic turkey is a large fowl that is one of two species in the Meleagris genus and is the same species as the wild turkey. The domestication of the turkey is thought to have taken place in Central America at least 2,000 years ago. The domestic turkey is a popular type of poultry and it very cheap for the amount of meat it produces. Goldfish is a freshwater fish. It is often kept as a pet in indoor aquariums. It is one of the most popular aquarium fish. The goldfish is a relatively small member of the carp family. It was first bred in Imperial China 1,000 years ago. Several different breeds have been developed over a long time. A domestic or domesticated rabbit is a subspecies of European rabbit. More commonly known as a pet rabbit, bunny, bun, or bunny rabbit. Domestication was probably a slow process that took place from the Roman period, or earlier, until the 1500s. Rabbits were first used for their food and fur by the Romans. Koi are colorful varieties of Amur carp that are kept for decorative purposes in outdoor ponds or water gardens. Although the koi is mentioned in ancient Japanese texts in the 4th century, domestication continued until the 11th century. Several varieties are recognized by the Japanese, distinguished by coloration, patterning, and scalation. The domestic canary, often simply known as the canary, is a domesticated form of the wild canary, a small songbird in the finch family originating from the Macaronesian Islands. From the 18th up to the 20th centuries, canaries and finches were used in the UK, Canada and the US in the coal mining industry to detect carbon monoxide. Known as the society finch in North America and the Bengali finch or Bengalese finch elsewhere, is a domesticated finch. It domesticated early 18th century in Japan. It became a popular cage and trade bird in the 1860s. They are very popular due to her singing ability. A fancy mouse is a domesticated form of the house mouse, usually kept as a type of pocket pet. Fancy mouse have also been specially bred for exhibiting, with shows being held internationally. It was domesticated approximately in the late 17th century. The domestication of laboratory mice corresponds to the same years. Wild minks can be tamed if caught young, but can be difficult to handle and are usually not handled bare-handed. In the late 19th century, tame American minks were often reared for ratting, much as ferrets were used in Europe. The species most common among domestic hedgehogs are African pygmy hedgehog. In the early 1980s, hedgehog domestication became popular. Since domestication started, several new hedgehogs have been cultivated or become common.